These mics are hot.
Oh, fuck.
Can I just say how awesome this countdown is?
It's glorious.
Thanks, Logitech.
Thanks, Britt.
Thanks, Britt.
I didn't know Britt worked on that.
Yeah, she did that. Hello.
This is actually a good look.
Wow. Yeah. Welcome, everybody. Yes, it is a brand new boss room. It has been quite some time. We are in a new space. We are slowly iterating on the new boss room. We're getting new cameras soon, all this new stuff, but we wanted to get it out this week because it's been a very big week for all of us here at the studio. More on that in a second.
Yeah, I think this room feels a little bit more cozy. When I came in earlier, the old one with the big desk, I felt like we were like handing down sentences like, no, you're going to have to go play some bad 90s game for hours on end.
But now we've expanded. We have a new floor to the studio below us, so this is now a dedicated stream room. It's no longer an office.
It's cozy, right?
Yeah,
it's good.
The soundproofing feels good. The carpet feels good. I'm
Got
gonna
a
use this
couch
chair
in
for
here.
next time. Yeah.
So I want to give a big shout out.
In my office.
I want to give a big shout out to Britt Webb, or Britality, our community manager for the game and the studio. This is a pet project of hers, and she's just done a great job. So I want to say thank you. And she's TDing it right now, so great stuff.
Cool.
All right, guys. So yeah, I think I want to do some introductions first. We'll start with you, Matt.
What's up?
Matt, what do you do here at the studio?
I'm a senior gameplay programmer. I've worked on a lot of the classes you've been playing in the game. That's pretty much it. Most of them, yeah.
And yeah, I don't think you need any introduction.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing about Matt, as I said before, is he has a really good design sense, and so he can directly say, fuck it, I'm just going to code that up myself. But I'm Cliff. I'm the co-founder, CEO. My forehead's getting really warm.
And everybody, I'm Rohan Rivas. I'm just the studio communications guy. So yeah, just trying to make all this happen and make sure all of you are informed on what's going on and make sure we have kind of an open door here at Boss Key to answer your questions.
Yeah, try and be as transparent as possible, which is something we intended to do like 2.5 years ago. And now that we're, having these betas on the regular and people are getting hands-on and they're seeing that it's a really fun game, we can start talking about things and all the awesomeness that's behind us there.
Yep. So cool. Yeah, I mean, this whole episode and why we're here, it's about answering your questions based off of our last week's beta, the news that we've had this week. I'm sure everybody has some questions, and yeah, we're an open book. So to start, I just want to talk about the closed beta that just wrapped up.
Yeah, I mean, it was the entire time was very exciting, having worked at the studio from the trailer to the PlayStation 4 announcement to the closed beta, and it's one of those things. We found some bugs.
Yeah, I mean, some of them were my bugs.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. It's one of those things. I always say, this is why we beta, and balance also one of those things of looking at the numbers behind the scenes and seeing what's overpowered, what's underpowered, and seeing how one of the little tricks we do in game design is whenever a new gun or character is implemented, they do this in some MOBAs as well, make the character just a little OP, and I got fucked up a lot by a lot of wraiths that were just dancing through. I felt like I was like Shinobi in the game over that time period.
Yeah, it was truly awesome to behold all the people just playing the new characters, and just super exciting for me to see the game out there in people's hands now, and getting to see people connect with the different characters and the different gameplay sort of in the way that I had hoped and expected that they would. So
yeah, and finding that people could stab it infinitely and get back on the map from the stabs and momentum too.
That we're fixing.
I didn't know about that.
So that brings us to a great point, right? So for a studio that just does a closed beta, what happens next, right? When the beta is shut down, what happens next in the studio for people who don't know?
So we're still in the stage right now where we're sort of compiling and analyzing all the data that we got from telemetry and basically looking at that, figuring out what we're going to do. I think at some point we're probably going to get in the boxing ring and duke it out and figure out what exactly the changes are we're going to make and how we're going to push into the next patch, make changes that respond to people's feedback, but also sort of go with our gut to an extent on where we think the game needs to go.
It's such a tough challenge because some of us are aware of various skills depending on the time of day and what kind of mood we're in or how long we've been playing first-person shooters. But some people came in and they're like, oh, I just played all weekend and I just got wrecked by this one role and whatnot. It's like you can't take that always as gospel because that's just one anecdotal moment. Sure. And we're looking at the spreadsheet of things to discuss balance-wise, and Ramon's like, can we actually say split this up to what was the community feedback, what the consensus was versus somebody had a bad Saturday afternoon and just couldn't aim for shit or whatever, right?
It's definitely been a learning experience for me to an extent too, because having played a lot of multiplayer games, I sort of understand the the player side of it and how you can get attached to different characters or different abilities or whatever. But now I'm seeing the other side of it and seeing how other people get attached to things that I've done. And like, you sort of build this emotional connection almost when you're like, I main this class, this is my class, and I'm dominating people. If you make changes to it, you know, that's tough for people. So you got to really think about, you know, managing both the mathematical perfection balance of the game, but also people's emotions and feelings and perceptions of balance as well.
It's nice to see the Vanguard back in the mix.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, people love the fact that you can use afterburners, right, and fire at the same time. I saw a lot of people using her as more of like a pursuit.
Yep.
That's exactly kind of play style, which is awesome, right? Yep. You have somebody who's sweeping away with the objective. It's like the Vanguard needs to get in there, pursue, take them down, and then as a team, jump on the objective.
I mean, anecdotally, I actually saw a lot less gunslingers this time, which I don't know if we've, you know, massaged that one too much.
I think the consensus is we over-nerfed Gunslinger a little bit. I know after Beta 1, we looked at Vanguard and we were like, she's just not where we thought she should be. We had brought her down a little bit because, you know, conceptually, she's like, she can fly and she has a Gatling gun. She can do pretty much everything you would ever want. So it's easy for her to be overtuned. And I think we had hit her too hard. So going into Beta 2, we brought her way back, brought up her reliability of her gun. She can fly and shoot at the same time, a bunch of buffs. I'm really happy with how those turned out, and I think people have responded to it.
Yeah, and also seeing that one video I posted earlier about that really good, I don't know if he's an old school Quake player or whatever, but that dude who showed that, you know, in the right hands, the Titans can make it across the map nearly as well as the Wraith or the
It was alternate.
It was alternate, yeah,
that
totally.
Dude is a beast.
It's like he literally like rocket jumps into the low grav and then starts blind firing through and then using the leap, and then just like, if you keep jumping in this game, even if you're a heavier class, once you land out of low grav or even from air, you maintain the momentum, so you get a little bit of that skating. And he just boom, 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 right across the goal to score and blitz.
Yeah, that's what I love about this game, right? Is that that you have those aspirational players. It's like Michael Jordan, right? It's like, I'm going to try to do that, but I probably will not be able to, but I have a respect for him.
Yeah, I need to find a way for that guy to get, or I guess it's the dude, I don't know, just to get a slightly better machine, because he posted that.
Playing on those low settings.
Alternate.
It was like the most amazing gameplay I've ever seen on a potato in a while.
Yeah, truly awesome though. Like, that dude, suddenly Titan is way more mobile than we ever thought he could be. But it's super cool to see it.
That's the emergency hope for, right?
Yeah.
And that's the goal that kind of, you know, separates, you know, good from great. So.
Yeah, so, you know, doing changes to a game and taking feedback takes time, right? So I would say, guys, you know, what usually is the trajectory for taking community feedback and then making actionable changes to the game?
So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put a bunch of changes in what we call mainline, which is sort of the live version of the game within the office. And we're going to be testing those out for probably a couple of weeks. And some of those changes will make it into the next patch and some of them won't. You know, sometimes we try things that are wacky ideas to try to solve some particular design problem that don't work. Sometimes we go too far, not far enough. I know for sure that we're looking at making some pretty hefty changes for Juggernaut in the next patch. Beta 2, he was, you know, still not living up to where we wanted him to be. So I would expect some under the hood numbers, but also some gameplay stuff for him as well.
Cool.
Also fixing that scary bug where that I saw, Ramon came into my office and showed me a video on his phone of somebody in Reactor with Kitsune flying by, just as Axel just like shooting in like no hit registration.
That was the yeah. Fortunately,
terrifying.
we were able to address that with some simple server console commands thanks to Nathan Wolf.
So was that done during the beta?
That was done during the beta, yeah. Although
cool.
Ramon told me that we accidentally reverted that fix at some point on Sunday. So
welcome to software development.
Yeah, it's beta. So
yeah, but I mean, if you know, being a game that's highly skill based and players wanting that,
it's important, man. It's important.
They will call us out on it, you know, and then if they lose a tournament, then they're going to be pretty pissed at us, and they all like self-organized and through a tournament. Which
that was so
you don't
cool.
see a lot of that in betas these days.
Cool.
Yeah, we want to give a shout out to all those who played in it, including our devs. Right, that was really cool to see. So thanks for doing that.
Yeah, I had that magical moment sitting at the house where I was playing, and then Lauren's on her PC next to me, and then my sister-in-law's on the VR one downstairs, and then my brother-in-law was in Louisiana, and like the four of us all teaming up.
Oh, that's awesome.
A family that plays together.
Stays together.
Everyone knows that part.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, and there's kind of some of the behind the curtain mechanisms for how a studio operates after a beta. So at this point, it's kind of crazy. We went from our closed beta 2, which is a big deal, and then we followed it up with I guess the megaton reveal of we are coming to console PS4, along with
finally stop asking.
I know, along with the price point of $29.99.
Yep, that was really, really huge for us, you know, especially after all the railing that I'd done on social media about these $60 only, $60 multiplayer only games, and then, you know, then they started in with the DLC, some of it not even just cosmetic, and you're just like, come on, man. So, I mean, it's one of those things that we want to be the scrappy little underdog that, you know, maybe, you know, as they were saying, one of the videos Hunter posted where this dude who's analyzing the game was like, most games are 60, so if you're willing to pay, you know, $60 for this game, buy 2 copies and give a key to your friend.
Yeah.
Right?
Aluko is saying, why not 30? I'd pay an extra cent.
I think it's the psychology of the 1 cent
exactly.
below.
The mind tends to round down.
Yeah.
It's only $20.
I was super happy about the price too. I feel like it's an impulse buy price. I feel like just visually looking at the game, it doesn't look like a $29 game. So you're like, really feel like you're getting your money's worth. I think
I think it's got such great value for that price, right?
You're in a world where it's so hard, you know, to launch a new game or new IP that people they tend to resist it. Right, you know, it's like Far Cry 5 was announced, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, another Far Cry!" And I'm like, "I'm sure it'll be fun. I'll enjoy it. The setting looks cool. More towers, cool."
Montana.
Right? Yeah, I think is it actually Montana?
It's Montana.
Yeah, I think they're going to make some interesting political statements in it as well. Going to go like partially Handmaid's Tale and all that. But I'll play that. But for us, it's like, you know, hey, you know, just give it a go. You know, if you've seen a trailer or a video that you like for this, you know, do the impulse buy and you know, pick it up on PS4 or you know, PC. And it's one of those things announcing PS4 that, you know, people are no longer asking me, you know, is it coming to console? Now they're like, why no Xbox? You turned your back on the console that made you with Gears, man.
So I guess let's nip some of those questions now, right? So why no Xbox?
We're a small studio, dude. Yeah. And it's one of those things that, you know, we talked to them, but we had to pick one. And it's one of those things that, you know, initially this just made more sense for PlayStation, you know, the PS Pro. And, you know, it's one of these things that I think, you know, the stakeholders, the shareholders for both platforms realize that, you know, Microsoft in particular, you know, fucked up initially and, you know, tuned in, you know, launched a console that was drastically underpowered. Then, of course, Moore's Law kicks in, as it always does. Then finding out that, oh, now we're going to do this Scorpio thing. And it's one of those things that, you know, Sony released a pretty powerful system. Like, no, now we're doing, you know, PS Pro 4K and all this. And it's just this, you know, arms race. And so we're 65 people. You know, we had a little bit of help off-site doing some of the initial port, but what ultimately happens is you eventually have to, the baby has to come home, and we have to optimize and get those controls right.
So something that I think has been super interesting, right? Because as a gamer, I would see LawBreakers saying it's coming to PC first, PC, and then suddenly consoles thrown into the mix, PS4. As a gamer, I would say like, oh, well, I mean, are they going to now make concessions for the PC product to meet the PS4 product?
Yeah, that's a silly misconception because, you know, we're not going to start using like the aim assist that we, of course, put on PlayStation for the controller on the PC game. It's just, that's not cool. The other thing is, you know, we're not doing crossplay. You know, I made a broad statement on Twitter saying crossplay is dumb, which wound up being a gaffe thread in news articles and everything. Oh yeah, I gotta love right in my mouth, and people hate it. Hey, at least I'm at a point where I'm saying things again and people give a shit. But yeah, like if you're gonna do crossplay, make that your thing. Make a game that's completely asymmetrical, right? Like for example, you know, I don't think Evolve did it, but you know, Evolve, you know, maybe the PC players are, you know, the shooter, you know, the snipers, the trapper, and all that, but the monsters, you know, with the controller because the third-person melee character usually feels better with that kind of thing, right? Yeah. Make that your feature as opposed to just having it just to have it, because it's a lot of work. Balance, just one more damn thing that can go wrong, one more thing to worry about when already, you know, it's a miracle that games even ship.
And you're splitting your matchmaking too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think for me, between PC and console, right now our goal is parity, and I think that console gamers should actually be really happy about that because it means that we're not making any sacrifices for them. They're going to be getting the full PC game running on console as it was originally intended and designed.
Well, the other thing that, you know, with the environment team, usually when you make a game like this and you are an art team that's learning how to work together, towards, you know, about halfway through the project, they really figured out how to make the levels look amazing, but they really weren't that optimal yet. And so going back and fixing the modular architecture of Grandview, making it look much better, but also optimizing the crap out of it to make sure we're at 60 frames on PlayStation, because 30, whatever, that's lame. But also that also helped the PCs, you know, min spec do better, help the PC high end do better to get up to like, you know, 144 on up.
And that's something that our COO, Ariane Brucey said, right? Like it was actually the silver lining of it was, hey, PC actually improved in terms of optimization as we developed for PS4.
Yeah, on Friday we usually have the company meetings where we show off what we're working on in the art department. People say a few things from code, design, production, and whatnot. And there's just like a 3 to 4 week period where like what the art department was working on, they just bring up a PlayStation logo. Because they just had to take the maps and get rid of what I refer to as the sins of the fathers and just hammer them out, find out this mesh was duplicated 15 times when I only needed it once, or it's 8 million triangles and it only needs to be, you know, 50,000. What were we thinking? And they did it. And it's one of those things that the frame rate feels really, really good, really smooth.
Yeah, frame rate's awesome on PC. Frame rate is awesome on PS4.
We're a post Call of Duty world, man. You can't be below 60.
60 is important.
It is.
That comes from the top, man. Ariane is iron fist about that. He will kill us all if we don't hit it. So we're hitting it.
He was that way all the way back in the 90s with Jazz Jackrabbit. You know, making sure that you know, that game ran buttery smooth. You know, when you know, 3D Realms was putting out their 2D side scrollers that were a little choppy. I'll always be salty about that.
All right, so we've got some stuff out into the open now. You know, reiterated a few things, like we want to nip some questions early, of course.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think right now we're going to get to Twitch chat questions here in a minute. But what we want to do is go ahead and look at some questions that we've taken from social, from the Steam forums, LawBreakers forums, LawBreakers on Twitter and Facebook. So
yeah,
let's get started.
Punch it.
All right, so the first one is from a longtime player, Blind Rob. With a larger player base in the last beta, were there any analytics that took you by surprise?
So I actually have not had a chance to go through all the data yet. So that question is a bit premature. I think we're still compiling it. We need time to go through it and look at it. I do expect that there will be surprising data because each time I've looked through it, there's always something that shocks me a little bit, but yeah, I can't answer that yet.
So I asked Eric to actually see some of that data because I think we're all chomping at the bit to get it, but they have to take the data and properly analyze it, and if you do it wrong, you could really screw your decision-making process. But the one thing was that, you know, the Titans were the least played. And I think it's because, you know, you take an FPS player who, you know, they just want the DPS assault rifles initially. Just let me get that crosshair over the enemy's body and then head. You know, rocket launchers are, of course, a staple for games like this, but when you have a character who doesn't really have, like, a shift, time dilation, or blink, and they just have the stomp, and you don't really know to blind fire or, you know, blind fire, rocket jump, and do all that stuff that we saw in that video we talked to at the top of this, then the character feels agonizingly slow, and these are starting to fog up.
All right, let's go to the next one.
It's like Tracer Cat, though.
So from Pigbomb on Twitter, that name is amazing. As a console gamer, I was disappointed when it appeared to be PC only. Now it's on PS4. What changed to make this happen?
There was a lot of things, but one of the main things was just awareness of this being kind of a new game, a new IP, and having another SKU that it gives us some more potential customers, but also more awareness. You know, the publisher drops more money when there's more silos of the games available on, and, you know, we actually looked at, you know, the tremendous success of the phenomenon. I would love to be 1/10 of that of Rocket League, you know, and them dropping on PlayStation and PC, and then that kind of really becoming a thing because it's a great game, and you know, can each one piggyback on top of the other, and you know, it's what we wanted to announce this a while back, but, you know, it was really touch and go in regards to, can we, you know, we feel like, and we haven't answered it yet, but can we simultaneously ship this and drop the giant boulder in the lake to make the biggest kind of splash and, you know, tsunami on the shore, for lack of a better term.
But gamers along the way, you know, since we actually announced the game, and, you know, bringing your audience along as well from your previous life, yeah, console gamers have been asking for LawBreakers.
I've been at this, you know, I've been at this for a while. And it's, you know, they don't remember that, you know, Ariane and I started on PC, and then I just remember the Gears era of, you know, console, and that's what I was saying. It was just so weird to sit there like tuning these controls and getting the dual zone looking and whatnot in there, which is what I prefer, and to be at the point where, like, oh my god, we're tuning friction and adhesion again. And this, what year is it?
That's awesome.
Yeah, but it turned out good.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be on console, honestly. I think it opens us up to just a much wider audience rather than being just on one platform, and I think that it's just really cool to have the opportunity to have worked on it. And I think in terms of what changed, like, internally in the studio, like, the studio kicked into high gear when we realized that we were going to do multi-platform, and people have been busting ass really hard for a long time now to make this happen. Obviously, we're not a huge company, but we've got a lot of talent here, so we've been putting in the sweat to make it work for you guys out there, and I hope you appreciate it.
Yeah, we're having an interesting debate right now in regards to what the default control scheme is, because you'll always have options, but I'm a big believer of whatever the default is most important, because a certain percentage of players never even think to change it, and so it's one of those things like where do we put blind fire? Because players who don't know how useful it is may not really care what button it's on, because we had it on the D-pad at one point, but then I kept accidentally bringing up the...
That was a bug, by the way, that I just fixed. Yeah, so the problem is down D-pad, when you slightly rotate your hand to the left, it accidentally depresses, or it also depresses left D-pad, which was bringing up the roll info screen.
Okay. So hopefully this week I'm going to try blind fire on left stick click. But then I got Ramon being like, "Well, what happens when you accidentally left stick click it?"
Oh,
I'm like,
I can't stand it. But that's why we've got multiple configs.
I'm like, it's not my fault. You have sausage fingers that mash the controller. Like,
I get worked up, dude, during the match, and like my hand, like I squeeze it, and then I'm blind firing in the middle of whatever else.
And then that interrupts your whatever we're doing in the first place, and then you die, and then you blame us instead of the
Well,
the
now
game.
I know to blame you specifically.
Thank you. I just want to try it.
So multiple configs.
Yes,
yes,
absolutely.
We've got multiple configs.
And they have like snappy names, like bumper jumper and things like that.
Well, that's because there is a contingent of console gamers out there who swear by jump being on a bumper and being able to essentially jump without taking your thumb off the aim stick, which is totally understandable. You would want to do that. So, especially in a game like ours where it's high mobility and high speed, I felt like that was a necessary config to have.
Oh, I absolutely have it, but they probably invert too.
Yeah, well, we support that too.
All right, let's go to the next question. From what is that? Numbduts. Numbduts.
I think Numbnuts was taken.
Will the PS4 impair the PC version?
No.
I.e., did you make any concessions to the PC version because you are now doing a console version? So we actually kind of already answered
proactively answered that.
Yeah,
one.
so we already answered that, but I definitely wanted to make sure they got recognition there. So moving on here to Freely over on the Steam forums, will there be a large assortment of cosmetics skins post-launch for the stash drops earned during ranking up, buying them outright? Or can you buy them outright?
You have to go through the stash box system for this, and this is something that's been hotly debated internally as well as externally. We want people playing the game, and it's one of those things that there's a reason why loot boxes are powerful in a lot of these games, and you honestly can't just buy the skins outright. You need the overall ecosystem working, of people playing the game, of earning the stash boxes, but also that little, like J.J. Abrams did the Wired article a year ago about the power of what's in the box. Anytime I'm in the test lab and I see somebody on the main screen that has a stash drop,
he's like,
and there's like a number, I'm like, why are you clicking on that? What's in the box, man? What's in the box? And if you don't want the player who's the trust fund kid who just goes and buys everything and never plays the game. It's the equivalent of the rich people who, when they converted the plaza in Manhattan into condos from the hotel, and you go by that place at night and there's like one light on because they're so rich they never actually deal with it. It's just another bauble of theirs, and so we want to kind of avoid that. That's a really fucking weird metaphor.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, we're going to have post-launch content, right? I don't think we can announce anything specific about it yet, but...
So one thing I want to add to that is you can purchase with in-game soft currency, right?
Yeah, so
that you can also get in the stash.
Good to clarify
so
that.
you can get everything by playing the game, and that was an important distinction for us.
I just want to make sure, totally.
Yeah, because if a dupe comes out, then it just says dupe, and then gives you the little like creds thing, which was named KREDZ for like a day, and everyone finally got their heads out of their butt and just called it creds. Yo, dog, we got some creds.
So, and another thing, the cosmetics that were in the beta, that is just one layer of the cosmetics. All of you out there, just wait.
Yeah, for the first time, I've seen some of in the play test with everything in there, and my mind is starting to melt.
It was actually, we were looking at these skins and meshes that came online at the different tiers on Fridays. And they look great, but the part...
I'm getting worked up thinking about some of those tier 5s.
But part of the problem was, sometimes the tier 5 would come out and we wouldn't really necessarily know who it was. Like, is this the Wraith, or is this like Axel or Kintaro? And I had to double back and make a list with Trammell and everybody in the art department of this character has this defining thing. Like Helix has these tubes, because you need to know like that. Especially since our stylization is not so weird or over the top that we don't have like the little gnome running around. We don't have the the giant diva mech. We're a little bit more accordion in regards to the height difference between our characters. So you need to spot the silhouette at a distance and adhere to the things that make that character them.
Yeah, I can't wait for everybody to see all this stuff that we're working on. So let's go to the next question.
Those paint jobs.
All right, from Adam Shear on Twitter, any specifics on PS4 Pro enhancements?
So what I can say about PS4 Pro is obviously it's got better CPU and GPU. So what we're going to have is better frame rate and better resolution. And that's pretty much what we're doing.
Yeah, I think the frame rate is locked 60 on both PS4 Pro and PS4, but what really, like you said, is just graphical enhancements, right? The graphical fidelity will be better on PS4 Pro.
Yes.
There you have it.
From Goose Knuckle on Twitter, are there going to be character balance patches periodically throughout the game's lifespan?
No, we're just going to leave it as is.
That
was sarcasm.
Cliff is right.
Well, the weird thing is like, using the Smash Brothers example is like Smash Brothers was just so, well put together that, all these years later, it's like,
that's
it's
an incredible.
That's
it's
rare.
incredible.
Yeah,
that Melee is still a competitively played game after how many? That's just
people
insane.
still finding new strats where this character is not popular this year, but for us being a living product, we're going to be tuning the shit out of it on the regular basis, and we're gonna make some stuff you guys are gonna love. We're gonna make some stuff that you guys hate, but come at us, talk to us, yell at us.
Yeah, let us know what you think, what you want, how you're feeling. We need to know.
I'd rather have you yelling at us than having indifference. Just don't threaten like you do the Call of Duty guys sometimes. It's not cool.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the next one. All right, so finally from our social platforms, final question here from Decagon from Twitter. Do you plan to do a beta specific to PS4, and will PS4 be able to run LawBreakers at 60 frames per second?
I believe I'm able to say yes.
Well, I mean, I think it's understood that we will be, attempting to do a beta at some point for PlayStation 4. I mean, we want it, just like you would do for PC launch, right? Like,
and actually find issues and not have the fake marketing beta where it comes out like a day later.
Yeah, details are to be determined. We'll definitely let everybody know about that stuff. And then the second part of that question is the 60 frames per second.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. So confirmed, 60 frames per second, PS4 Pro and PlayStation 4.
Like butter.
Smooth.
Like this.
Can you explain? Well, hold on. So hold on. While I look at some Twitter questions, because I can't do two things at once, can you explain what the hell that thing is?
Well, anybody who's over 30 or doesn't have kids may not know. It's a fidget spinner. Is what it is. And it's all the rage with like little kids these days, and to the point where they had to ban them from schools. And I believe that this is the direct result of a generation that's been trained to multitask and have a multi-threaded brain, whereas if you're not doing more than one thing at a time, you're bored off your ass. And going back to Twitch streamers who are playing the game, talking, reading the text, and thanks for the donation, like that multi-threaded brain, whereas before it used to just be put the TV on in the background. And even for me, it's like, I'm older, but it's going through like meetings with this, it's like sitting there just like, okay, yeah, I get it. Okay, and it like allows me to focus, whereas before I'd be in a long meeting and sitting there like doodling Rick and Morty characters or whatever, I would keep my brain occupied on that one track while the other one would listen to the meeting because I was still listening. It goes back to Jeff Keighley. We all know who Jeff could be on two phones at the same time and still have a conversation with you.
That I could never do.
It always comes back to Jeff, doesn't it?
It always does, especially for me.
And kids do tricks with these, and it's so stupid.
How do you do tricks with it?
Oh, they like toss them finger to finger and shit. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Dude, look it up. Go to YouTube and look up fidget spinner, and like there's a bazillion videos of it. It's silly, but I like it.
All right, so we're going to just start diving into some Twitch questions. We'll take questions for, 15 minutes or so and just tackle them, and then we'll peace out. So to start here, from Sir Kane, VR support for true immersion. When?
For this game?
I don't know.
It would be a yak machine.
I assume it's for this game.
Well, for the main game, the only thing we could ever consider doing way down the line is what kind of like I think Dota did it, where you could have like a VR spectator mode where you have the giant screen in front of you, but then you use all that other space to kind of select, or
that would be cool.
The character select who's running around is in front of you animating like, oh, what's up, Kitsune, please don't stab me, like that kind of stuff. But we'll do it in our spare time. It's one of I've been public with always wanting to dabble in VR, but I had a pitch at one point which I've told everybody publicly, but it got to the point where the financing just is not there to make a quote more of a real game. All
right, so I like this question because it kind of taps into a little bit of what's coming down the pipe, but we'll be cautious about this. So from Aluco TV, what does convergence do? It sounds cool. I found it in the achievements.
Convergence.
I think this has to do with an upcoming role at some point.
I don't know about that one.
All right,
Yeah,
so we'll leave that.
I don't know what that is.
Somebody from Bosky, if you can tease that in the chat, that'd be great.
Well, it's in the achievements. So, all right, let's move on. So this is kind of along the same lines from Circlus. When are we likely to see a final roll?
Well, there's no such thing as a final roll.
Exactly.
See what you did there. Well, we do have the 9th, with of course the 2 characters for the 2 sides that will be revealing in the near future. But that's not going to stop. People are already thinking about and hopefully cranking on some future ones that we can release and hopefully you like, and then tell us completely imbalance the game and ruin the original Lawbreakers. But it's like MMOs and MOBAs kind of made this path and this pattern for like constantly like teasing who the next person is. Overwatch nailed it with a lot of their post releases, and it's something we hope to very much emulate.
Yeah, I think one thing I've learned for sure is that every time we add a new role into the game, it greatly expands just the overall gameplay experience. Because you have to learn to play as them, you learn to play against them, how they fit in with all the different other roles in the game, and so it's just really awesome seeing the game just become that much deeper every time. And I think that, it's sort of interesting to think about, how many potential roles could the game support before it became too many? I don't know. I don't think we can put a number on that yet. It's too hard to say.
But another big thing about that, right, is what the game is all about. And the proposition that we're putting out there is that you pay one upfront price to play
a very
the game.
reasonable price, mind you.
Yes. And future roles, maps, modes, all that content is delivered as updates free of charge.
Yeah, the thing about the beta that felt so amazing for me was having this many roles on either side that I felt like I never got bored. There was always something that I missed. I'm playing as Wraith, I miss Titan, I'm playing as Titan, I miss Assassin, I miss Enforcer, and so that kind of getting that level of size, that TF2 level, and then of course once 9 comes in, because now playing the game I miss 9, and then we've done some initial prototyping on a potential 10th one. So there's this thing that happens with game developers where sometimes you ship a game and you get bummed. And I kind of warned everybody about it here. It's like, oh, it's out. Okay, now what? And with a game hopefully like this, it's like you'll be playing in the wild with people and hopefully they'll be loving it. But when you're playing in the wild, you're going to miss the next role that's coming online in the test lab, and the game's going to feel incomplete. So you hopefully have that torque point of the game always feeling like it's never done.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
This is a cool question from MFer212014. How does everyone feel about health stations? Do they feel like they give too much advantage? What would you think if they were to be eliminated?
Too much advantage in what context? Can you elaborate on that at all? I mean, I think it's pretty clear that the point of the health station is to make dealing damage in the game matter. Like, imagine we put in health regen on every character, right? Like Call of Duty or whatever. Laying down a little bit of poke damage would then be meaningless, because then you could hide behind cover, regen everything back, and then all that damage went for nothing.
But it also ties into the fact that we don't want to be a game that is so dependent on the meta. If you're playing, again, it's a great game, Overwatch, but nobody's playing Mercy or the other healer classes like your host.
Sure.
And so, it's just in the wild, in and of itself, maybe somebody doesn't feel like being the medic that night. Maybe they just want to, shoot rockets and whatnot. So we don't want to adhere to the meta so much. And by having health stations and health packs in there, we kind of, and then of course the medics, we have kind of small, medium, large. Yeah. We're kind of rejuicing and rejuvenating yourself.
I think it creates interesting gameplay situations. Like, I have to make a decision. Do I go for the health packs and maybe fill up 20 to 30%? Or am I going to take a longer route back to the health station and fill up to full? And that's a tough decision to make if you have 8 seconds before the turf war zones unlock.
It's there was this moment when I was playing in the beta where somebody was going around the corner and they didn't know that I'd seen them, and I saw them take the turn to go to the health station. Mm-hmm. And it's that moment like, the dude in Jurassic Park who's in the outhouse with the T-Rex eats him.
Clever girl.
Yeah, but it just like coming around the corner and just rocket. Oh, you thought you were gonna heal? Too bad.
Yep.
Great responses, guys. Next question is from It's Ethereal. Will platforms be balanced independently?
So we're open to that if necessary, but right now what I've said is I would like to keep parity if possible. I think that it's best for console to be identical to PC in terms of balance if we can make it work. If there are situations on console where it's too far extreme or it's too imbalanced, then we will look at making console specific balance changes. But we haven't made any yet, and I hope not to, but I can't guarantee that we won't, because we will if it's necessary.
At some point, how many numbers can you keep up with?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
All right, trying to find a question here. Okay, this is cool. From Reclaim Joey, what plans do you have to flesh out the lore? Events, digital comics, and more animated trailers, etc.?
Yeah, I mean, we're there's stuff in progress that I can't really talk about too much because we don't want to like spoil it. But yes, there's more coming. For me, the trailer was an incredibly exciting moment because beyond the barks in the game and seeing the characters, and animations, and everything like that, it felt like an updated version of like an 80s like cartoon of the two sides fighting back and forth like the old Thundercats, and showing my age right now. But it really felt like, you know, just the moment where you see, you know, Kronos just, you know, I think your quote was you'd watch Kronos and Nash, the TV show, all day long. And
Kronos and Nash.
And just he hands him it
when
like
he hands him the case, that is by far my favorite.
And then Nash is
moment.
like, he's like this like badass C-3PO, but like, you know, making sure that the face is slightly derpy for Nash. Making sure that, you know, people can see the Blitzball actually kind of having a little bit of a personality and things like that. Yeah, it meant a lot for me to see that. And like I had it on my phone for like 3 weeks before the trailer came out, and I'd show it to everybody in town that I trusted, like pull them aside out at a restaurant or a bar and be like, look at this, what do you think of this? And it resonated pretty well. And we've got an aggregate of like something nearly 2 million views across different YouTube channels right now.
Yeah.
So people are digging it. And I'm proud of it. You know, it's you know, it's not, you know, Mad World, which is of course the launch of the Gears IP. It's a completely different vibe, but I feel like, you know, it's great for, you know, what we're doing with the character-based shooter with a little bit of that irreverent, almost Guardians of the Galaxy kind of vibe to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff, right, that we can be doing on the periphery as well, because it's tough. It's a multiplayer shooter. How do you build out the lore, right? One of the cool things that's going into the game, Dan Nani is actually, he's a lead designer, he's actually adding bits of lore to every profile icon, right?
Oh, cool.
Like, and so you're looking at this stuff and you're getting some of the backstory, you're getting some insights based off of these little pieces of the game that are cosmetic based.
Little
and
Dark Souls inspiration.
Yeah, it's really cool, right? But we're trying to find ways to inject it as much as we can because it is important.
And you want to know why Deadlock says break is a French toast. Love his cheese. I hate dying.
So this is a good question from Brian Tano. What is your response to many people who take one glance at this game and dismiss it as an Overwatch clone?
Look at the price point and give it a go. The human mind, this goes back to survival times where it's like, oh, I saw a bear that ate my friend. There's a bear. Maybe I shouldn't let bears eat me because that bear ate someone, right? It's like they want to fit it into a bucket like, oh, this is just that and the other. And it's like, you know, having these kind of characters in a first-person shooter, it's not new. Team Fortress 2 has been doing it for years. It's one of those things that, you know, we have a different art style. If you look at, you know, the overlap in regards to how our game plays with less reliance on the meta, the actual like moves that we have, you know, we don't have the, you know, the spacing on his names, the giant shield right now. Reinhardt shield that we're just walking from. We don't have the Mercy Noodle. We have all of our different takes on all that with the art style. You know, give it a shot.
I take offense to it a little bit, honestly. Like, from the beginning of the founding of this company, one of Cliff's major things has been finding the unique twist and making sure that we're doing something a little bit new and a little bit different that people haven't seen before. And I would, honestly, like, I think Overwatch straight up copies TF2 way more than we've copied any other game ever.
I would agree with that, but
I think the game's got its unique feel, and if you play it, you will feel the difference.
Yeah, I mean, so I see it from both sides, right? Like, on the surface, if I remove myself completely and I see a game where you have a character that is warping around with two guns, immediately you're like, oh, that's X, Y, and Z, right?
Yeah, Overwatch isn't the first game to have a blink.
Exactly. But when you play LawBreakers and you play that role, it plays so much differently. And
yes.
That's the challenge, right? Is once people play the game, I think that notion is immediately dismissed.
That's why it's incredibly important to get the word out there through marketing push as well as social media.
And all of you, right?
And the price point. Hopefully that adds up to people digging it.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So this is a good question from Frothy Omen. Emotes. We need more stuff to spam besides kicks during countdown phase. It's great. It's but again, the reality is, right? It's all animation. That's a lot of work.
It is something that I can say we've talked about. Don't think we're ready to say that we're committing to it yet.
Yeah, it would be cool though.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me find another question here. Balance independently. I think we already talked about that.
Yeah.
Hold on, kind of got. What's the goal from Jay Ardez? What's the goal for competitive ranked mode, and what's your thoughts on friendly fire?
No friendly fire by default, of course.
Yeah.
But the ranked mode?
Yeah, I mean, so do you want to?
I mean, look, ranked is important for us. There's no doubt about that. It is a major factor for people playing a competitive game to be able to jump into ranked, where the expectation is that people are sort of taking the game more seriously or playing to win more seriously. Yeah, beyond that, I don't know what else to say about it. It's super important for this game, and we are going to be putting a lot of effort into it.
Yeah, I mean, that when it's like using the poker analogy. It's like when people play poker without any money. It's like if they just kick around in the pubs, then it's fine. Nobody's really like focusing on it. But suddenly, when there's something at stake, that's when things get real. And when we had the influencers out here, and they were kicking around all day, it was fine. But we actually had brackets, and people who lost or won, as it turns out, would have to eat the canned chicken. That's when it got serious.
Oh, I don't want to think about it.
But one
think
thing
about chicken right
Don't
now.
want to think about it.
One thing to remember, though, right, is, we got to start grassroots. Like, we got to figure out, like, with all of you, we have to figure out with the community, what is the competitive feature set?
Yep.
What are people identifying with? Like, and that doesn't come day one, So we need to work with all of you to figure that stuff out, and then it will grow from there. But to Matt's point, very important.
Yes.
All right. So from Sonic, what is everyone's favorite character? It's a great question.
Character or role, because it's asymmetrical.
So let's do both. Favorite role, favorite character.
Well, it depends on the week. As of late, well, I love Role 9, who have been has really come into this character's own.
Yeah.
But the Wraith is, of course, the hotness right now because it feels especially fresh and new in the wild. And I'm Vanguard, of course, because Vanguard now actually really works in the wild, and it's kind of like a classic that you came up with those 2 years ago. But character-wise, I just love Deadlock because he's just the dad joke character who says all this dumb stuff in a Kiwi accent, and he's hard not to love. He's this wannabe superhero, like a Phoenix Jones, the guy in Seattle, and it's endearing. Too often characters, especially in a game like this, are "I'm gonna get you" or "You suck," right? Like he came into his own. Our later characters also feel like they have a lot more personality, and we're getting better and better at it.
Yeah, for me, my favorite is not yet released. Roll 9, Lost Side. You guys know what I'm talking about. I think that
Iconic as hell.
people will find out eventually, I think we did something really cool in terms of sort of bucking the trope that you might expect and making it something really cool. And in terms of role, people have asked me this before, and my answer is I don't have a favorite because many of them are my babies, and I cannot choose one.
Sophie's choice, dude.
Yeah, so I try not to be a one trick, and I try to play everything.
Mine, Nash, is probably my favorite character. Love all of the references. Thanks,
Pop culture
Cliff.
lines.
Yeah, it's all you. And then I would have to say 100% is the Gunslinger. I love having that precision gameplay without a scope. Is super awesome.
I found that with that character or role, when I'm on, and when I'm off, I'm just terrible. Those on days and off days, and there's times where you're just timing it right, blam, blam, blam. There's other days you just can't hit shit, and you're like, yeah,
We're working on that issue. I think Gunslinger is a little bit too hard to play for most people right now.
Cool. Well, changes are coming. So we're going to take just a few more questions, and then we're going to wrap things up. From Derpiter. Will there be matchmaking? I think there already is.
Yeah.
But like to keep people at a high skill going against people of the same skill level, and so new players and unskilled players aren't getting stomped.
Yes, there will be there is matchmaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even from Beta 1 to Beta 2, it got a lot better because, it may seem fun to completely wreck another team, but, as with American football, as with all sports, nobody really likes a blowout. You look at the Super Bowl this year and that comeback the Pats have, that's exciting. That's what creates drama and highlight reels. Yeah,
the thing about matchmaking right now is it's sort of a very narrow matchmaking ranking range within which you get really close, competitive, fun matches. So we're trying, the more awareness we get out of the game, the more people we get playing it, the more fun the game will be and the better the matchmaking will be.
Yeah, I was telling all the boss key folks during Beta 2 to just play normally. Initially in the alpha and everything, we're like, oh, okay, just go easy on everybody, let them get some kills. It's like, no, let's put this puppy to the test. Ned, who's really good, actually play the way that you do, as you're the most annoying assassin ever to play the game. And, let the matchmaking do its job, put it through its paces.
Yeah.
All right, so from many people here, and I'll answer this question, from Saber Plays, YT, and some others, will we get another beta anytime soon? I think that's probably, what's on the tip of everybody's tongue, right? We'll have to see, right? Because right now it's all about taking the feedback from all of you and making the game better. And as you saw between Closed Beta 1 and Closed Beta 2, takes time. It takes time to do it right and not have it be marketing.
We're not committing to it. We're not promising, but let's just say it would make a lot of sense.
Yep.
To get a larger amount of players playing the game, the whole walk before you run, because if the game comes out and we sell a bunch of copies, you don't want to have a smaller scale beta and then have your servers faceplant day one, which we've seen countless times with countless other games. It just ruins you.
We don't want to be EA on day one.
Yes, exactly. All right, so I think we're gonna have to wrap it up here. It's 6:45 our time. So if you still have questions, please hit us up on Twitter and on the forums and on Discord, and we'll do our best to answer everything. But yeah, I mean, I'm super jazzed to be doing this again. Again, thank you, Brutality, for getting all this stuff up and running.
This is a lot of fun. I think we've learned the dynamic that when I have Matt with me, he's my anger translator, like Luther on Key and Peele. What he's really saying is, but yeah, it's fun. Tell your friends, damn it, especially if you got in the beta and you enjoyed it. Share videos, tweet us, spread the word. We'd like to keep making video games for you.
Yeah, 100%. Anything, Matt? Anything you want to say to the
Nailed
community?
it, man. Tell your friends, play the game. That's all we can ask.
Yeah, we're making a great game, and we want to make it for all of you and help us spread the word. So yeah, from everybody at the studio, thank you very much for joining us for the new Boss Room. We're going to aim to do these every single month from here on out, and then as we get further along, maybe twice a month. But yeah, it'll be a growing process for us, and we thank you all very much.
Thank you.
You're ridiculous.
Everything's yellow. I think I've joined us.
All right, so thank you, everybody. We'll see you soon.